Hello everyone, Trophy 100. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a special video that's going to be released on September 23rd, which is the Bordeaux 2020 release date in BC liquor stores. So it's a really exciting day for BC wine consumers. Every year it's a big hoopla. People line up for this, and it's a really exciting day. And so I thought I'd give you my comments with respect to these wines. The more expensive wines were released pre-sale between September 7th and 9th. So now I'm just going to go through the end part of this book, which is the wines that were released today at September 23rd. Let me make some general comments first about the release. I did do a previous video about the 2020 vintage. Again, my summary was that it's a good vintage, but there were better vintages in the past, 2016, 2018. There'll probably be better vintages in the future. So it's not one of these vintages that you have to go out and buy everything that you can. You want to pick and choose what you'd like. And so there are some decent values, and particularly for people that don't have a lot of Bordeaux already, if you're just getting into Bordeaux, it's a nice vintage to get, and I'm going to try to outline some of the wines. One thing that BC Liquor Stores has done, which they haven't done as much in the past, is to provide second and third wines. And here's my view of that. Generally speaking, we don't see a lot of second and third wines other than in Asia, particularly in Hong Kong, because the market is so driven by brand. People are really into, Bordeaux, first growth, the growth system. There is a bit of a cachet with respect to Bordeaux. And now that's spilling over here to Vancouver, because potentially I think we have a lot of Asia Pacific connection. I don't know how it is in other places, but that seems to be the trend, that now we're seeing more and more second wines of wineries. And I think that's because partially wines are getting more expensive, so there has to be more affordable price points. But here's my view of that. There's two comments I have. One is I really don't think that you really need to buy second or even third wines of wineries unless you're looking at first and second growth equivalent wines in there. Anything else, it's really more for the name. And so if you're buying like fifth growth wines that they're second wine, I don't think you really need to do that. There's actually other wines that are not growth wines that are of the same value. So I wouldn't do that, in my opinion. The second thing is that what I look for when I look for value is, generally speaking, you're looking the first wine, the price between the first and second wine should be about 3 times, maybe 4 times difference. So that means if the first growth wine, let's say Chateau Lafite, is $1,500, then the right price for a Caruth delivery is around $500 to $600. If it's like $200, then I think that's a real steal. So that's what you're looking for. Anywhere in the 3 to 4 times range between a first and second growth, a first wine and a second wine, I'd say that's normal. If it's any more than that, that to me signifies value. Let's go through the list, and I will have a link in the comment section to the booklet that BC Liquor Stores has so they can follow along. So this is the wines that are available on release date on September 23rd. And the first wine on that list is probably the best deal. It's Alter Ego de Palmer. And this is the second wine of Chateau Palmer. And again, remember you said, well, Trophy, you kind of went against your rule here because this is not a first or second growth wine. It's a third growth wine. Having said that, I consider it to be a second growth equivalent wine because of the price. And if you look at the price of Chateau Palmer this year, I think it's $850. Alter Ego Palmer is $135, and I think that represents great value. That's like 1/6 the value. That's too wide a spread from my perspective, so I would buy that wine. It is doesn't have a wine spectator rating. It's 96 point wines, James Suckling, 46% Merlot, 30% Cab Sauvignon, and 4% Petit Verdot. I really like this wine at $135 a bottle because Chateau Palmer is exceedingly expensive at $850 a bottle. So I'd rather drink 6 bottles of Alter Ego. So I really think that's a real good pickup. Next wine, Chateau Brown from the Pas Saint Laurent region. Pretty well priced at $75. It's 93 points James Suckling, 92 points Wine Spectator, 53% Cabernet Sauvignon, 43% Merlot, 2% Petit Verdot. And generally speaking, when you're looking at this high level of Cabernet Sauvignon, you're gonna have to age these wines probably 5+ years. If you go back to my video, you'll kind of know that I'm more preferable to the right bank this year and Merlot based grapes. So, you know, it's not bad to have these quite moderate blends of, you know, not as much Cabernet Sauvignon. I actually quite like that because I think that will be a bit more balanced wines. Next one is one of my favorites, is Chateau Carbonneau. It's from the Passat-Longin region. It's one of the few wines that has a Grand Cru Classé classification, and that's or Grave region, that is both for their white and red wines. So they do really make really great wines at $85 a bottle. I think it's quite a nice price. 49% Cabernet Sauvignon, 45% Merlot, 4% Petit Verdot, and 2% Cabernet Franc, 93 points Wine Spectator. So I always think this is a great wine to drink. Next wine I think is a good deal is Chateau d'Alem from the Fransat region. Again, it's $58, which is actually quite a nice price. It's one of these wines, good value. It is 90% Merlot this year, 10% Cabernet Franc, so it can drink early. Again, these are type of wines that I would consider value, and you don't really learn a lot about the higher end wines. So drinking Chateau d'Alem, I don't think helps you understand, let's say, Chateau Lafite or any of the second growth wines. But it's a great wine, and it is, you know, Bordeaux-esque. So don't get me wrong. So at this price this year, I think it's a good deal. It is 94 points James Suckling, 91 points, I believe, Wine Spectator. But I think you can drink early. So I wouldn't mind picking up a bottle or two of that. Next one I think is a good deal is Chateau Haute Bataille from the Poic region, 5th growth wine. It's $145, but one of the least expensive wines that has a 95-point Wine Spectator rating. And again, going back to my other videos, I try to follow as much as possible only one rating service. That makes I can compare apples to apples. It doesn't matter to me which one you choose, which one you trust, but I don't think it's fair to kind of go through and pick the best score because then it's really hard to know what that is. So I just go by Wine Spectator, and in this situation, which is one of the best values, where you have a 95-point wine and above. So this is $145. Always a great wine. Haute Bataille, I think the last couple of years has really done well. It's 62% Cabernet Sauvignon, 38% Merlot, 95-point Wine Spectator. You will need to age this. The next wine I like is La Fleur Gazan from Pomerol. So Pomerol, from my perspective, is always expensive. It's mostly because it's a very small region. I've done a video in the past. You can check it out on the Pomerol region. There's not that many producers, and La Fleur Gazan actually is a fairly decent producer. It's really close, as its name suggests, to Chateau Lafleur and Chateau Gazan, and also Chateau Petrus. So not really that bad, and actually it's quite a nice price if you look at the prices of those other wines. $85. It's 100% Merlot, so it could actually drink pretty early, and 92 points Wine Spectator, but I think actually it's got some value. Just a note here, the number 67 in the catalog, which is Chateau Lagrange, I'm not sure if they've got the right one, because there's actually two Chateau Lagranges, one in Pomerol and one in Saint-Julien. So I'm not sure which one they have. In the book, they say it's Chateau Lagrange from Pomerol, but if you look at the description, it describes the one from Saint-Julien. So I'm not sure which one it is. There's no difference in my opinion. It's not really going to get a deal if they made a mistake, but I'm just note the description in their catalog is not correct. I'm just going to point out a couple other ones that I'm not going to talk a lot about, but again, there's too many that you can really do, so I try to focus on a couple of them. Malartic La Gravière is one of my favorite wines. I've done a review of that. Great story. $120, a little bit pricey, 92 points. A couple of others that I skipped over that you could consider, but I find them a little bit pricey and there's better choices. Chateau Gloria from Saint-Julien is $100, not bad price, but it's 93 points. It's not a growth wine, so you don't get any status or brand recognition from that. Chateau de Ferrand from Saint-Emilion, it is $75, 92 points Wine Spectator. Again, not well known, but well rated. Next wine is Chateau Menet from Saint Estèphe. Again, not a really well-known wine, not a growth wine, but a very nice label. Always makes good wines. And this year it is $75, pretty reasonable price. I think 52%, something like that. Cabernet Sauvignon, 35% Merlot, a little bit of Petit Verdot, 92 points Wine Spectator. Again, you'll need to age this, but just 3 or 5 years, not a lot. Another wine that I like is Pavie Macan. So Pavie Macan doesn't get a lot of notice. It is actually a sleeper type wine that I think is pretty good in terms of the quality. Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. It's 95 points Wine Spectator, $175. A little bit pricier than Off Bataille, but I still like the wine. I find that Pavie Macan actually grows on you, and that actually the longer you age it, the better it is. There's a lot of second wines like Petit Vijac. Again, I think they're just well priced. I like the wines, but they're just not as good a deal as Alter Ego. There's a third wine, the Petit de Cru Bucaillou. So again, I don't think you really need to go at $70 a bottle for a third wine of a second growth. I'd rather just kind of choose some of the wines that I have outlined before. So it's better to do that. Again, the Petit Mouton, $550 is about the right price, because I think Mouton Rothschild this year is $1,500 or $1,800, somewhere around there. The last red wine I'm going to talk about is Chateau Talbot. So Talbot is a favorite among a lot of people. I'm not crazy about the wine. I find it a little bit austere, but again, I should try it again. It is 95 point Wine Spectator, $150, not a bad deal. I think it's a fourth growth wine. So, you know, it's pretty heavy Cabernet Sauvignon this year, 76% Cabernet Sauvignon, 21% Merlot, and 3% Petit Verdot. So it's gonna be a wine that needs some aging, probably about 8 years. It's a favorite among many people, but I actually might pick up a bottle just because I should retaste it and maybe kind of redo this. One word of advice that I have, a lot of people, when they go to buy Bordeaux, you have to have patience with Bordeaux. So if you think that you're going to be able to buy a wine and then drink it that night, that's not going to happen for most of the wines you're going to buy. I will open a couple of bottles just for interest's sake. I drink a lot of young wines just to follow their trend. But if you're looking for actual pleasure, you're better off actually just drinking some Napa or some Australian wines, quite frankly, if you just want to take a home wine that night. But there is a lot of value in white wines, and the white wines are actually quite nice too. And what I like about Bordeaux white wines, it's got a little bit of Semillon. So Semillon puts a little bit of greenness in the wine. The other blended grape in white wines of Bordeaux is Sauvignon Blanc. And if you find Sauvignon Blanc too acidic, then that Semillon actually takes away a little bit of the acidity, but gives a little bit of greenness and a little bit of fullness to the wine. So it's actually quite a nice blend. Most of these wines you can drink early. I actually like the vintage for white, so there are some good deals here. Again, Chateau Brown and Chateau Carbonneau both have white wines that are also very highly rated. They're both 92 points. Chateau Brown is $70, which is 60% Sauvignon Blanc, 40% Semillon. Chateau Carbonneau Blanc is $85, 65% Sauvignon Blanc, 35% Semillon. Very similar. I personally like Carbonneau a little bit better in terms of, I think it ages a little bit better than Chateau Brown. The next wine I'm going to suggest is Le Clarté Haut-Brion Blanc, which is the second wine of actual white wine of Le Mission Haut-Brion Blanc and Haut-Brion Blanc. And remember, my rule was that, you're looking for 1/3 of the price. So if the second wine is 1/3 of the price or more, then it's a good deal. So actually, Le Clarté Haut-Brion is the blend or the second wine of both Le Mission Haut-Brion and also Haut-Brion. So if you look at Le Mission Haut-Brion this year is $1,500 Blanc, and then the Chateau Haut-Brion Blanc is $1,800. So if you look at that, this is $200. So it's 7 times or 1/7 the cost of Le Mission Haut-Brion Blanc and 1/9 of the cost of Haut-Brion Blanc. I've tasted both Aubryon Blanc, and Le Clarté. And I tasted with the wine representatives. And they all agreed with me that it's like, wow, that's a spectacular deal. That's too much of a value. Because most people honestly couldn't tell the difference between Le Clarté and Chateau Aubryon. Maybe in 20 years you could, but the first 15 years of the wine, I don't think most people could tell. They're delicious wines, and I think it's actually a steal at $200 a bottle. The other wine that I really like every year, I don't think I have the red this year, but the white, the Clos Floridine. Very good value, $55. It's actually getting up in price. I remember when I was buying it at $40 a bottle. It's 91 points Wine Spectator. This is a value producer who always produces great wines. 75% Sauvignon Blanc, 24% Semillon, and then a percent of Muscadel, which I think might bring a little bit of sweetness to the wine. So I like that. There's this winery that I've never heard of called Chateau de France Blanc. Sounds a little hokey, but they have a 92-point Wine Spectator rating. It's only $55, so I would take a shot at that. It's going to drink fairly early, 80% Sauvignon Blanc, 20% Semillon, and it's $55, so it's quite a good deal. And then the last one is Chateau Renaud. It's part of the Clos Floridine family from Denis Duberdeau, value producer, expert. 89 points Wine Spectator. This is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. So a little bit more simpler wine, I would say, but it is only $30 a bottle. So last thing I'm going to talk about is Sauternes wines. And unfortunately, I don't actually think it's a great year for Sauternes. So I would pass on it. In general, because Sauternes actually usually has some really good vintages, I generally don't buy Sauternes wines that are not rated at least 95 points Wine Spectator. It's actually not that hard to find usually. This year, the offerings, at least at this level, none of them meet that criteria. And it's not inexpensive. They're all like $55, $60 for a half bottle. So I really want good quality, and I would wait. So I would pass on all the Sauternes this year and wait for a better year. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Happy shopping, and until next time, happy drinking.